All right. Good morning, everybody. We will be getting started shortly here. Just getting all of my product stuff loaded up. Oof, all right. Forgot I've not quite finished with my overlays. I'm not going to mess with it too much today. Um, I am gonna have to take a look at that though, because that is really gross. Hmm. I might be able to tweak that fairly quickly. Let's see. Elements. Game scene. I think. No, did I go with overlays? No, I'm pretty sure this is an elements one. Yeah, okay. Alright, so that one has nothing. This one. Needs to be moved over. Yeah, there we go. Okay. That's better. Good. What are these for? Oh, interesting. I don't actually remember what those were for. I have two. Let's take a look. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing right now. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, right. Okay, the original one just had some titles junk on the top. Hmm. Okay. I really don't know if I'm gonna do anything with that. I don't need to have my name on the top or in the bottom right. But I believe all the other web's information, Discord, coffee, etc. website is all there. I do need to update my about. But yeah, that should be fine. Okay. That will do. thing to check real quick. And then... Oh, brother. Okay. Okay, so I can close out of all that. I've got a bunch of other things I need to leave open here. Excuse me. Okay. Alright, so as you guys can see, I don't think I've really showed you guys much on this project. Compared to Magus Outpost, this one is an entirely different style of game. So, one of the things that I'm really looking to do here is teach myself how to make a bunch of different systems, how to work with different aspects of Unity's game engine, to see what sort of stuff I can make and what sort of stuff I can learn that will be applicable to other projects. So with Magus Outpost, the primary systems I would say I learned that were transferable, I was able to create an inventory system where items could be paired together, tied into a user interface, and I can say that I've done that now. Now that was built off a modifiable pre-existing inventory system, but the concepts are basically the same. I had to make some fairly severe modifications to that one, adding in an item outliner. Not super complicated, but was still something that I did not previously know how to do. It's something that I'll be able to implement into any other system that I want to work with. Although I do want to look more into that because the current method in a lot of the videos that I find suggest adding a second material to an object, and that doubles the draw calls for every item that needs to be outlined, and that seems really inefficient. It seems incredibly inefficient. So I'm gonna have to look into that and see if there's a better way to handle that. It's really hard to say. I feel like there should be, but it's entirely possible that what I actually need to do isn't have them have two materials all the time, but properly figure out how to add the second material and remove the second material only when it's actually referencing that item. So that's one of the things that I had to figure out, right? Bit complicated, bit convoluted, but that's okay. It was a good process to learn, good thing to learn. I also had to generate basically a digital number pad. It's tied to one of the puzzles, and if you've played through the game, you'll know what I'm talking about, and if not, game is free. Go check it out. There's no cost unless you would like to donate some money to me either through Ko-fi or through the purchase of the game on itch.io. It is available in a handful of different places as well, I believe. But primarily, it's available on itch.io. Alright, so this project doesn't have a name. I call it the city generator. That's not an adequate description. The ultimate goal of this is mostly to just create a simulation where the player can place cities, place resources, and then allow the project to just run and see what happens. Um, it's not going to be terribly fun or exciting, but it is going to teach me how to do a handful of different things. So the first thing that I've done here is we can see this ground, as you can see in the actual editor window, is a piece of terrain, and that means that I have the ability to, adjust the height. So if I go down here, we can see that the height has been raised around the edges to prevent anything from walking off the edges. This has a terrain collider. It's been painted in a variety of colors, and everything looks like it came straight out of, Red Alert 1 from like the 90s. It's honestly quite ugly, and that's something I have to learn how to do better. Now, there is a bit of a clipping issue here. I have tried multiple times to fix this so it looks silly, but you can see it's slightly raised over the other one. The problem is when I do it slightly lower, it has the opposite effect. I think the ultimate solution here is to make it less wide. I do terrain width, let's make it 8. Let's go with 100 because the other one is so it is still slightly taller, but the camera shouldn't really be able to see that now. Let's check over here. Yeah, okay. So yeah, now it's not visible from this camera. It's not going to be visible from the other side. Do a quick pan over. So this is teaching me how to work with terrain. Do that. Yeah, I thought so. I thought so. I was in play mode, which meant that I had to fix the thing. Now, one of the interesting things about working with terrain that I've learned is if you adjust the size of the terrain while in play mode, it will keep that change. It just won't keep the position change. So, the more you know. Now, this box here does absolutely nothing. It is literally just there to assist me in doing some raycast tests and quick fiddling with layers and such. It's a debug item. It does nothing. It is literally called cube. It does nothing. Around the outside edges, we have additional terrain. There's a couple because I didn't want to have terrain, a whole second layer of terrain under the main set of stuff. I didn't think that was wise. So I did not do it. So we have 3 pieces of extra terrain around the edges. Now, when I'm in the actual game editor, if I go back into play or the game mode, when we do, the way that this one works is you can place cities or you can place resources. So if we go to resources, there will be some other options. Right now there's mostly just placeholders, but we have a mining resource. It's just designed to kind of look like rocks with maybe some coal in it, some iron or something. It's just a bunch of rocks. And yes, this model is very, very simple. It's basically just a bunch of globes, a bunch of D20s or more than 20 probably. Just a bunch of balls stacked together with some lines in it because the art doesn't need to be anything super complicated for this project. I'm mostly just trying to iterate on this quickly. Now, something that you'll have seen when I click in here and we go to place something is we do get this, I'm going to say nice, I like how it turned out. It's a ghosting effect. On this particular resource, it's not super clear what's going on, but it's there. And that's mainly what I was going for here. So I will place this down. Now, if I go over to our cities, we actually have, it says we have 3. It's wrong. If we do this one, we can see that we actually get a nice little outline of what the building will look like. Now, getting it to do the blue ghost was quite a stretch. That was quite a bit of work to figure out how to make the ghost material transparent. That actually ends up being fairly straightforward, but effectively on the actual mat itself, come on, there is a surface type with opaque or transparent, and you just set it to transparent, and that's it. That's all you got to do. There is, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So then while moving it around, if you get too close to something else, obviously we can't see the collider right now, but if you get too close to something else, it will turn red to indicate that it is not able to be placed there. I am trying to click, it won't click. Now, for anyone who's worked with colliders before, you'll know that there is an on enter. There is an on enter, on exit, and on stay for triggers and colliders. And entering and exiting triggers functions in such a way that when I move from this blue area down into the area between all three of these, I'm going to enter 3 different triggers. But it's possible for me to move away from this, and you'll see in my console, I will get, there we go, it goes from previous numbers down to 3-2, which means I've left one of the triggers, but I have not left the other 2. And if you only have an on exit to change the color back, as soon as it exits the first one, it will change back to placeable again, and that's obviously not ideal. So I actually have something tracking the number of triggers it's currently touching, or rather, it doesn't track the number that you are currently touching. What it is tracking is how many enters you have activated and how many exits you've activated. So your trigger counters based on your enters and exits as opposed to how many you are currently touching. So it's effectively the same thing, but it works out a little better. And yeah, so you can't place them too close to each other. We can place it over there. We have another civilization type here. And that's basically it. Getting the last thing that I was working on was trying to set it so that clicking on our UI would not place things down. That obviously is not working, but I did fix part of the issue, and that is that before, when you would click onto the different resources, it would actually leave it in a ghost state regardless of where it was or if it was a valid place to place it. So now I actually have to turn on or disable the placing mechanics, and that's fine. I don't mind. That's really not the end of the world. It is a thing that I can do. But it's not something that I'm super fussy about, so I will be fixing it at some point. For now, for now, yeah, so for now, that's basically where the project's at. I have to do a little bit more work on the actual, on the project. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing, but I will figure it out as I go. Um, Sorry, just checking a text message here. Brother. Okay. Okay, there we go. Sorry, got my stuff sorted out. So yeah, this is where the project is right now. Ultimately, the next steps are to first fix that UI issue, which should not place when we are clicking through the UI. We also, oh, I've got the camera that as we move up and down, will actually change our angle. So you can have kind of a top-down view if you want. And when we swing on down here, we get a much more personal view of what's going on. Which I think will be nice once we have some actual stuff going on in the game or in the project. We cannot move outside of the map. If you attempt to place something on the outsides of our terrain here, the actual ghost will stop moving. I wanted to make it turn red instead, but that's not really a big issue. I'm not super concerned with it. I'd rather it just not place while it's out there, or not be able to be placed on that ground. It just yeah, okay. Um, so many emails this morning, my goodness. Yeah, so I gotta fix that issue with the UI, and then the next issue that I will be dealing with is when you place these buildings down, there should be a variety of buildings being placed down around them. Um, kind of like some lodging buildings and some work buildings. Will be a handful of items that can go down. Um, in terms of, oh, so these buildings, you might recognize them if you own the pack. You might not. These are assets that I've purchased. Obviously, they're considerably better than the rocks that I made, but again, using assets is super handy for building these types of projects. I've been chipping away at a little bit of 3D modeling stuff. Obviously, I'm still have a long way to go, but I'm teaching myself, and that's the main thing. So, um, yeah. So once we place these buildings down, I'm going to have it drop a bunch of surrounding buildings. So each one of these will kind of create its own little town city area. And then underneath of those, I'm actually going to use some of the terrain painting options. There's a way to dynamically adjust what the terrain looks like. I don't really know much more than it is supposed to be doable. So I will be looking into that. That'll be nice. Um, it's going to be a process and a half, obviously. But it should be an interesting process and a half. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looks like we've got two people in the stream now. As far as I can tell, it's being a little funky. I don't know. Okay, one, two. It seems to be bouncing back and forth. That's fine though. Yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to start doing some actual development on screen soon. Right now, I'm not going to have time because it took me an entire hour to get things rolling this morning. Ideally, I'll be doing a little bit of development on stream. I still want to talk about the game design documents that I've been working on. That would be something that'd be nice to complete. I do have one started for this project. I have one complete for the Magus Outpost project. But yeah, basically, I hope you guys will come along with me and just spend some time learning. I'm hoping if I can get my sleep schedule onto a more consistent basis to be doing a Monday, Wednesday, Friday stream from about 7 a.m. until 8 a.m. Eastern Time. That is a lofty goal at the moment. I have two young children who don't like to let me sleep. And I recently had a friend pass away within the last 2 weeks, and I haven't gone to sleep before about 3 o'clock in the morning for either of those reasons since then. So I, unfortunately, don't really have a ton of energy at the moment. I would absolutely love it if I could start getting up more consistently, and that's the goal. The goal is to start getting up more consistently, doing things. Um, but again, you know, we'll just start by making things. That's the goal, anyways. Get comfortable being on camera. I don't really need don't really need anything else other than that. Just get comfortable on camera. That's the goal. So, if you're enjoying what I do, feel free to follow. I don't believe you can subscribe or any of the other things right now. I think I need 50 people. Yes, I know it's 10 to 8. I know. We need 50 people following first. And then, ugh, it's still out of whack, that overlay. Jeez. Okay. We will make one more change to that overlay before I just wrap up here. Let's see if I can't fix that quick. That is going to drive me nuts. Save and publish the change. I don't need the instructions. I know how to do this. I'm fine. Oh, nice. Thank you for the follow. I noticed that it had moved over, but yeah, thank you for the follow, man. Like I said, if you guys want to hop over and check it out, I'll be in most mornings. Well, ideally, I'll be in most Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings for about an hour. It's kind of chatting about progress on the current projects. It just progress will be relative to how much time I have both before work and after work. I don't really get any time to do development. As I said, I have two young children, which means I don't get a whole lot of sleep, and I don't have a whole lot of spare time because my priority is my family. I get done work and I spend as much time as I can with them because you know, they're only going to be this young once. So the game dev stuff will happen when it happens, and I'll do my best to try and be here consistently. I'll ask for some grace if I'm not, but um, yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So I think I will start wrapping things up. I've got to start getting mark things ready to go for 8 o'clock. Um, but yeah, if you like what you see, head on over to the website in the description. I believe it is. Yep, yeah. So there is a link to the Discord. It's pretty empty right now. It is what it is. If you want to join it, you can. There's some updates on the projects as they come out. I put out updates both pre-release and post-release of the different projects for changelogs and things like that. I do have some assets that I create and sell. There's no updates on those, but they're available on Gumroad and Game Dev Market and itch.io and I think there's one Unity Asset Store. So they are available in all of those places. You can find more information on the website. And if you want to donate money to help me get a better computer at some point, because I don't have a good gaming or a good game development PC. What I have is a Ryzen 5 2600 and a NVIDIA 1070, which is leaps and bounds better. That was gifted to me a year or two ago by a very good friend. Leaps and bounds better than the 1030 I had, which was basically just a fancy way to plug in my monitor. But yeah, I've got a 1070, I've got a Ryzen 5 2600, and 16 gigs of RAM, and I max this thing out almost every time I do game dev. So while I'm not doing anything super complicated right now, I am planning on doing some more complex stuff. And for those of you who've done game development, you'll know the more complex it gets, the more resources you need to do the actual development. So, yeah, thanks for joining in. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping things up here. So I'm going to transition us to our ending title. And if anyone wants to pop in and ask any questions, you certainly can. I'm still here for the next 3 or 4 minutes. Wonderful. I do not understand why this just refuses to do the thing. Come on. Wonderful black screen. There we go. Now it's moving. Yeah, I'm not really sure why it does that. That happens consistently, though, is when I go to queue up my starting and ending cards, the animations break, which doesn't really make sense. It's supposed to be pulling them from a website. So, I don't know. I will figure that out on my own time, I guess. Yeah, so again, thanks guys for joining, and I will sign off. Like I said, if you've got any questions before I go, feel free to ask. I'll be here for another minute or two.